Welcome back to the deep dive. We're really excited about today's exploration. We're digging into some fascinating material that gets right to the heart of living a fulfilling life.
That's right. We're looking at Chapter 6 from Karl Pillemer's book, 30 Lessons for Living. The chapter is called I Can Look Everyone in the Eye, Lessons for Living a Life Without Regrets.
And the whole idea behind it is just brilliant, isn't it? Pillemer didn't just theorize. He went out and actually talked to 1,000 older Americans, people in their 70s, 80s, 90s, even over 100.
Asking them about their lives, what they learned, and what they regretted. He calls them the experts on living, which I think is perfect.
It really is. It's like he's distilled, what, tens of thousands of years of collective life experience?
Exactly. And turned it into practical advice. We're not just getting philosophy here. These are concrete lessons from people who've, lived through it all.
So think of this deep dive as a kind of shortcut for you, the listener. We're going to unpack the big regrets these elders identified. But more importantly, what they say we can do now to avoid them later. It's like getting wisdom from the future almost.
Because regret, well, we all know what that feels like, don't we? Small things, big things. That awful feeling you can't change the past. No time machines, unfortunately.
If only. But yeah, we're stuck with reality. And that quote the book mentions from John Greenleaf Whittier really hits home. For of all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these, it might have been.
That's exactly the feeling these lessons aim to prevent. Pillemer wanted to get specific, actionable advice, how to make sure regrets are few and far between.
Okay, so based on all those conversations, 1,000 people, where did they say we should start? What's the absolute foundation for avoiding that might have been feeling?
Well, what really struck the author, and it comes through so strongly, is the first lesson. Always be honest. And they meant it, like, unconditionally.
Unconditionally? Really? Not even, the occasional little white lie to keep the peace? That sounds tough.
Yeah, Pillemer was surprised by the consistency, too. I mean, a few might have conceded a tiny social fib here or there, but the overwhelming message was clear. Dishonesty, any kind, it has a long reach. It comes back.
So it's more than just morals, though. That's definitely part of it, like being bred in the bone, honest. It's also practical for your own peace of mind.
Absolutely. It's tied right into self-respect, being able to live without that constant internal conflict. Arnie Hoffman, he was 83, put it simply. Honesty lets you look at yourself in the mirror, feel okay about your decisions.
The mirror test. I like that. Very direct. And there was that story about Arthur Moffat, 86, and his dad's shop.
Oh, yeah, the sign. Just one price. One just price. Arthur said his dad's whole approach was dealing fair and square. It wasn't just business. It was how you lived. And the elders kept linking treating others right with feeling good about yourself.
And it wasn't just regretting their own dishonesty, right? They also felt the sting when others weren't straight with them.
Definitely. But the deepest regrets, the ones that really lingered, were about their own choices. Times they were untruthful or unfaithful. The book gives some really powerful examples.
Like Eugene Earnhardt, 80 years old. That story was wow.
Incredibly moving. He talked about marital infidelity from years ago, connected to business travel, and you could just feel the raw pain still there. His warning was so direct. Faithfulness is one of the most important things. He called himself an idiot, just full of regret for the hurt he caused.
That really drives home the long-reach idea, especially in close relationships. And then there's Larry Handley, a different angle of dishonesty from someone else, a boss.
Right. He felt that hurt from his superior's lack of integrity, but his own way, totally opposite. He actually found real joy in being straight with customers, even if it meant turning down a sale if it wasn't right for them.
So he found peace in his own actions, despite what happened to him.
Exactly. And his advice to his family was basically, always be honest, always, then you'll never have to worry. You can be at peace. That peace keeps coming up.
It does. And Jordan Weiser, the entrepreneur, 77.
Yeah.
He was tempted, wasn't he? The shady side.
Yeah, he mentioned this specific situation, importing goods, thinking about bending the rules, shipping through another country to pay less duty. He said he normally stuck to the straight and narrow, but the money was tempting.
What stopped him?
A close call with customs. He didn't get nailed, but the fear of getting caught, the worry, waking up at night, that whole experience just completely turned him off it.
The psychological cost was too high.
Totally. His takeaway was blunt. It's not worth it for money to do questionable stuff. It will destroy you.
It will destroy you. That's quite a statement. And it's amazing how they all circled back to that same core idea. So lesson 1, loud and clear, unconditional honesty. It's the bedrock.
It really seems to be. Okay, so moving from honesty in our dealings with others, the experts also had a lot to say about how we approach our own path, our opportunities.
Which brings us to lesson 2, missed opportunities, the regret of not doing something.
Exactly. They saw playing it too safe, staying stuck in your comfort zone as a huge mistake. So much regret stemmed from the chances they didn't take.
So the advice is, say yes to opportunities, especially with work and career stuff.
Yeah, lean into challenges. They often saw career opportunities, even scary ones, as the source of the greatest reward. Joe Schluter, 73, his story is a great example.
He had quite a varied career, right?
He did. Came from poverty, became an engineer, then an entrepreneur, then a university lecturer. Quite a journey.
What was his big takeaway?
Basically, it really pays to say yes, unless you've got a really solid reason to say no. He felt opportunities, even the ones that seemed difficult or maybe not quite right at first, they lead somewhere interesting.
You don't have to feel totally ready.
That's what he said. Don't let feeling unqualified stop you. You can learn, you can figure it out. Life's an adventure, and saying no too much just means missing a lot.
I like that, missing a lot. It reframes saying no. The book mentions the happiest elders often pointed to specific moments where they took a leap, right?
Like Shelley Donaldson. Simple story, but relatable. Saw a job, needed more experience than she had. Almost didn't apply.
But someone pushed her.
Yeah, someone said, just go for it. So she said yes, applied, doubted herself, but she got it. It taught her not to hold back so much.
And then there's Albert Folsom, the farmer. He faced real physical disasters.
Yeah, his farm destroyed by fire, then hail. But instead of quitting, he remembered his dad's poker advice. When I lose, I double the bet.
Wow. So he rebuilt bigger.
He did. He literally said, well, you told me double the bet. It's that kind of courage, that willingness to push forward after setbacks that really impressed the author.
And the contrast between Rod Harrison and Vincent Morris really highlights this lesson, doesn't it? Similar starting points.
Very similar. Mid-level business guys. Rod played it safe. Good job, steady income, left work on time. But he regretted it. Wished he'd taken more initiative, stood up for himself more, and crucially, never chased his passion for the music business, felt he just didn't believe in himself enough.
So he had security, but that nagging what if.
Exactly. And Vincent, he did the opposite. At 32, he walked away from his stable business career to become a writer. Huge risk.
But it paid off in fulfillment.
Big time. He said he was finally earning a living doing what he'd do for fun. And that story about his wife on the beach asking, what took you so long to make up your mind? It's just perfect.
It shows the answer was inside him all along.
Right. And he talked about that little man syndrome, getting stuck, chasing money or security, then looking back with regrets. He said the Big Dipper doesn't care about your bank account. It's about whether you lived authentically.
That perspective shift is huge. Okay, so lesson 2, say yes. Embrace opportunities. Take some calculated risks. Follow your passions. Actively build the life you won't regret.
Definitely. Now, moving on from career and opportunities, there's another big area where almost everyone wished they'd done more. Lesson 3, travel more.
Ah, travel. You hear this one a lot, don't you? The book mentions how different their childhoods were, much more local.
Yeah, Zach Danko, 87, talking about seeing natives in New Guinea during the war, like stepping into another world compared to his upbringing.
And the key finding was, it didn't matter how much they had traveled.
Pretty much. Whether they'd seen a lot or a little, the common theme was wishing they'd seen more. Always that wistful, oh, I wish I'd gone to play, or I never got around to visiting.
Even Lee Ferrier, 97, a huge world traveler. He still wished he'd seen more places.
Incredible, isn't it? And his advice wasn't just go, but be adventurous, take reasonable chances.
And the big message for younger people, for us, is do it now.
Urgently. Do it now. Ruth Helm's husband had it right. Let's travel now. Who knows if we can go when we're older? That theme of traveling while you're healthy and mobile came up again and again.
Marcella Yusuf, 76, really lived that, didn't she? Retiring early to travel.
She did. Retired in her 50s with her husband and just traveled extensively for years, North America, Europe, and her feeling was pure satisfaction. So glad we did it while we could. No regrets there because they prioritized it.
And the flip side is so sad. The stories of regret from waiting too long. Bettina Grover, 86, always wanting to see Hawaii but feeling, oh, it's too late for me.
So poignant. And Jack Balter, 81, waiting until retirement to travel with his wife and then losing her before they could. Traveling alone just wasn't the same. That we waited too long is just heartbreaking.
It really is. It makes you think, what about the cost? That's always the barrier people mention.
Donna Laughlin, 78, had a great perspective on that. Basically, prioritize experiences over things. Thinking about remodeling. Choose the trip, she said. Travel broadens you, challenges you, gives you focus in a way stuff just doesn't.
And some of them were incredibly determined to keep going, even with physical challenges.
Oh, yeah. Donna Laughlin saying she was willing to fall in Germany if it's necessary. Just amazing resilience. And Rosemary Brewster, traveling for 8 years while her husband needed dialysis, rearranging their whole lives to make it work.
Wow, managing dialysis equipment on the road. That's commitment.
She literally turned my nights into days to handle it. It just shows how vital travel was to their sense of a full life. The takeaway is crystal clear. Don't wait.
Okay, lesson 3. Travel more. Plan for it. Make it a priority. Do it while you can. Share it with people you love. Avoid that major source of regret.
All right, shifting focus now. From experiences out in the world to maybe the most critical personal decision we make. The experts called this potentially the most important decision a human being makes.
Choosing a life partner, a spouse.
Exactly, and their big worry. That people just aren't careful enough. They rush in.
They identified a few risky ways people end up getting married, right? Paths that often lead to regret.
Yeah, 3 main ones. First, the super impulsive, passionate Romeo and Juliet thing, all feeling, not much thought. Second, marrying out of desperation, fear of being alone. And third, just sort of drifting into it. No big reason not to, so you just do.
And the experts basically said, no, don't do any of those.
They vigorously reject those paths. Their advice was consistent. Stop, look, and listen. Really question things. Question yourself. Question the compatibility again and again.
And you hear this most clearly from people who had a bad first marriage.
Absolutely. Those who learned the hard way and then got it right the second time, like Phyllis Morton, 78, saying flat out, "It is better to not marry than to marry the wrong person." Failure often came down to not really knowing the partner deeply beforehand.
Keith Kuhn warned about that romantic phase being dangerous, didn't he? People aren't always being real.
Right, and Sarah Palmer, 84, she lived that. Felt she was so in love she couldn't see anything else, only to realize after marrying that they were fundamentally different, like night and day.
Oof. That's tough. Henry David's advice was strong too. Be very, very careful. Look way ahead.
Yeah, think long term. How will you handle challenges together? He saw taking time as an insurance policy. Even suggested rejecting someone who seems okay if you're just not sure. Don't settle out of uncertainty.
In the story of Kate Young, 75, that was incredibly powerful. A life with many good things, but this one huge shadow.
Such a sad story, in a way. Great town, friends, health, volunteering. But this major regret about not choosing her husband more carefully. Her parents' bad divorce made her determined to avoid one herself.
So she stayed, even though it was unhappy.
For 50 years, she basically built a separate life alongside the marriage because there was no real communication, no connection. She called it a rough passage, not a good marriage.
To 50 years, wow, it just underlines why they stress this so much. Lesson 4. Choosing a mate needs incredible care, deep knowledge, honest self-reflection. Don't rush, don't settle out of fear, don't just drift.
It's a massive decision with potentially decades-long consequences. Okay, now for the last major lesson. Moving from huge life choices to, well, everyday communication, especially with loved ones.
This one's about what doesn't get said, right?
Okay.
Lesson 5. Say it now.
Exactly. It's kind of a paradox. We often regret blurting things out in anger, but the source suggests the deeper, more lasting regrets are about the important things left unsaid.
And the advice is straightforward, but maybe hard to follow. If it's important, say it. Don't wait until it's too late. Ralph Felice, 72, had that great line.
Send flowers to the living, the dead never see them. His rule was do it now, apologize now, express gratitude now, say I love you now, because that chance might just disappear.
And isn't it ironic that this often happens most in our closest relationships, where we assume they know how we feel?
Yeah, things get taken for granted. Grover Sykes, 89, felt that deeply about his wife. Loved her immensely, but felt they didn't really express ourselves to the extent we should have. Wished she'd told her she was the only one he ever really wanted to marry. Carrying that after she's gone. Tough.
Incredibly sad. And Hal Phipps, 81, actually cried, talking about not telling his wife of 55 years how much he loved her often enough.
Just heartbreaking. He realized after she passed that saying it more would have been much more fulfilling for both of them. He just took it for granted while she was there.
Why is it so hard, do you think? Complacency, being reserved, fear of vulnerability.
Probably all of the above, but then you have the contrast. The elders who did manage to say it were so grateful. Dennis Setzer, 81, found it hard to say I love you until his wife was in the hospital. His emotional reaction then finally showed her how much he cared, and he was relieved.
And Ruth Helm, who lost her daughter in that plane crash,
Yeah.
being able to remember their last words were, I love you.
So powerful, because they always said it on the phone. That habit became incredibly precious later. It provided real comfort in immense grief.
Even the author shared his own regret here about not asking his parents' family history questions.
Yeah, both only children, so when they died, those stories were just gone. He literally has a list of questions he wishes he could ask. It really makes you think about the conversations you might be putting off.
It does. Because unlike messing up a decision where maybe you can fix it, words left unsaid to someone who's gone, that's
Yeah.
permanent. So simple conversations can prevent huge regrets.
Absolutely. So those are the 5 big ones from the experts. Always be honest, say yes to opportunities, travel more, choose a mate carefully, and say it now. Just a wealth of wisdom there.
Truly invaluable, but the book doesn't just leave us there feeling the weight of potential regret, does it? There's a vital final piece of advice.
Yeah.
A postscript.
Yes, exactly. Because let's be real, aiming for a completely regret-free life, probably impossible. We all mess up. So the final lesson is crucial. Lighten up. Forgive yourself.
Let go of the mistakes, the bad choices. Alice Rossetto, 85, put it plainly. You can't change what's happened in the past. Self-acceptance is key, warts and all.
And she had that great analogy. If you've bought a pair of shoes, don't look at the shoes in the next store window. Don't torture yourself second-guessing. Make the choice, learn, move forward.
Marilyn Stifler, 69, also talked about being gentle with yourself. Kind to others, sure, but also kind to you, especially as you get older.
Yeah, avoid harsh self-judgment. Take it easy on yourself. It's like permission from people who've lived long lives to not beat yourself up endlessly over the past.
That's a really powerful and, frankly, comforting endnote. The wisest people eventually learn self-forgiveness.
Aim high with the lessons. Try to live honestly. Embrace life. Choose well. Speak your heart. But when you inevitably stumble, remember that final wisdom. Forgive yourself.
What an incredible set of lessons. This deep dive really offers so much to think about. Honesty, opportunities, travel, partners, communication, and self-compassion. Gifts from those who've seen it all.
It really is. And hopefully, for you listening, it sparks some reflection. How do these lessons land with you? Is there one small thing, maybe, you could do differently starting today, based on this 80,000 years of experience?
Use it as a guide, right? To help navigate those big choices. Build a life you can feel good about, a life where you can look yourself and everyone else in the eye.
That's the goal, a life lived fully, with fewer what-ifs.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into living without regrets. Be sure to tune in next time as we delve into more timeless wisdom from the experts.
We look forward to exploring more with you then.